Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new show called Sorting Issues. I am one of your hosts, Jesse, and with me today is my best friend, my co-pilot for this show, and the brainchild, Mr. Nate. Say hello, Nate.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna go with my last name with it too. I was like,
Last names are for people
okay,
with identities that they don't need to protect.
that's true. That's for adults.
Yeah.
Hello. How's it going, everyone?
You guys are going to see this in your podcast feed and not know what this is. This is what we plan to be a bi-weekly Patreon exclusive for the Comic Books Matter podcast, where we go through comic books issue by issue and kind of talk about them. And Nick came up mostly with the idea because he came to me one late night and said, "Hey, do you want to talk about the Bionicle comic books in a podcast form?" And I said, I don't know who would want to listen to that, so let's make them pay to listen to that.
That's the way to get them in, right?
Yeah. So this first episode will be free, and I'm going to post it in the normal feed, but the episodes after this will be at the $1 tier on our Patreon, which will be in the links, and I will figure out how to put an RSS feed in the Patreon this weekend.
Awesome.
Okay, so with that out of the way, Nate, how do we want to go through these books? Do we want to just open them up and go through the panels? Do we want to give a background of what Bionicle is if no one knows what it is?
I guess since this is the first episode, that might be a good idea, you think, just to kind of maybe we could start by saying like how we first came into contact with Bionicle and what our first kind of initial thoughts were, if we can remember. Because
I'm about to say I have brain damage, so I I honestly don't remember. I mean,
who can remember where we were at in 2001?
Yeah, I mean, we were worried about terrorists.
But I was looking through the dates on these comics, and they're just like right before like the world changed forever, right?
Okay, I want to talk about one special thing about these books.
Okay.
We're only talking about the first 3 books. This is a 3-part arc, like it says on the top: part 1, part 2, part 3.
Yeah.
And comics come out monthly. And I know we got these originally free with Lego Magazine, but Lego Magazine was also monthly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the dates, issue 1 comes out in June in 2001, issue 2 comes out in July 2001, and then issue 3 is in October.
October, right? It's like they hit you in, get you in hard, and then they're like, oh nope, gotta wait an extra month.
It's like here's the conclusion. So I thought that was super interesting. It's published with quotations, because again, I don't know where these are sold outside of the magazine. By DC Comics.
Right there on the front.
Yeah, right there. I was wild when I came to the realization, and I like that the logo changed in between issue 1 and issue 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Also, other things I noticed that the name Bionicle.com is just on the front cover. Like, please go to our website.
Please, to even know what we're talking about, go to Bionicle.com.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. Like the first issue came out before the toys were out, so no one knew what was happening.
Right. And we were dumb kids like back then, and we're just like, what is this?
And it's like super anime-esque in the way that like the West didn't really have yet, and Lego was not this.
Yeah, I mean, we were used to, I don't know about you, but I had been a subscriber to the Lego magazine for about 2.5, maybe 3 years before the Bionicle comics came out. So I was familiar with like the goofy little comics they would put in the Lego magazine.
Yeah,
and
I
showing
remember
off
those.
like the Lego sets and all that stuff. So I was like familiar with that. But then, yeah, 1 month in 2001, we get this comic book that comes in with our Lego magazine, and I was just blown away. It was wild.
Here's another thing that's super impressive with this. It's like it's Lego Technic, which
Hmm.
I wonder when they dropped that because I don't remember my Legos ever saying Lego Technic when I bought them. But
Right.
at the time, I remember Lego Technic always being the robots that you built and then you remote controlled, which they do have Bionicles in this early phase that were
Hmm.
remote controlled, but that was very few. So that also was different for me.
Yeah, it was like Lego Technic, to me always was like the big kid Legos, like the adult, well, I shouldn't say adult, but like the teenager Legos.
The adult Legos, the sex toy Legos.
I mean, they're about that shape right now.
Oh,
No, just
jeez. It's a rough time for anybody that tries that. Anyways,
kidding.
and what's also bonkers, okay, so this first issue came out before they were out by a month. And inside there's advertisements not only for the toys themselves, but for the PC game.
Yes, I saw that when I was
And
rereading it.
and on the very back for the trading card game.
Oh man, I had completely forgotten about the trading card game
And
until
there's also added with a skateboarder saying, like, Bionicles are cool.
yeah, remember Andy McDonald, the
No, I don't know who he
pro
is. I don't know who that
skateboarder?
is.
Sponsored by Bionicle.
So it's one of those things where like they were really those like we gotta get those kids with their finagle PC games and their COD
Yeah.
games. That Yu-Gi-Oh
It,
in our lunch right
yeah, Lego went hard on this. And I mean it ultimately it paid off.
for a
Like
while, yeah.
hindsight, like this, I mean, Bionicle became just huge in the, years after this.
I'll do a quick
And,
Google search
but
on something.
it wasn't for lack of trying, they definitely pumped everything they could out with the comics, the computer games, did you take a look at like some of the contests featured in these comic
Yeah, I
books?
saw some of it.
Oh man, I was thinking as I was reading this, like how cool would it be in like future episodes of this podcast if we ever get that far is if we could somehow track down like past winners of some of these contests. I just think that would be so fascinating to see what winning one of those things was like and what all you got from one of those things. But we'll have to see. But that just it just blows my mind the kind of contests they had in these issues.
So I'm looking at the Bionicle Wikipedia page, which is not super fancy. First, tell me that Lego Technic ended in 2003, so that's why my Legos didn't have that after a while.
Okay.
Um, but so they first originally launched in Europe and Australasia as a test market.
Mm,
Um, they earned about 100 million in the first year.
wow.
New sets every 6 months, which feels like forever as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at it now, it's like, wow, they really were pumping these toys out. But in my tiny little kid brain, it seemed like, ages passed before the new sets came out. And it was always this big thing like, wow, how did they change these sets? What all is the new thing with these sets? And, but yeah, 6 months, it's like, okay, wow, that was no time at all.
Yeah, supposedly it was so successful that it fixed all of their financial problems from the decade before.
it it single-handedly pulled Lego back into the black.
I mean, that makes sense because like when they got the Star Wars license too for Episode One, that boosted Lego at the same time.
Hmm.
That's on the toy suit
Yeah.
that made us by Netflix. Anyways, so yeah, let's talk about the comic though.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a good amount of backstory.
So my here's my first thing I noticed about the comic. So the first issue kind of just throws you
It
into the fire,
does it ever.
and like it gives you all these terms, and like the side of the inside of the cover gives you kind of like the backstory of what this is, but at the same time it tells you nothing.
It tells you like seven different names, and you're just like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, and then the first few pages introduce you to which Toa is this?
This would be Kopaka, my favorite
Yeah, well, I mean,
Toa, actually.
any design, one ice character is always the best.
Always cool, right?
Sword and shield, great.
Yes.
And then he has the goggles on his mask that basically lets him see through things.
Yeah, his mask design is always been my favorite of the original ones. It's like a skull almost, but
And
with like X-ray goggles.
I love his sword too because it's like two blades.
Mm. Yeah, it's got that little uh, crack going down the middle, just separating the two.
Yeah, and so Kopaka tries to murder a small child.
Who has the same head as him,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah. And
Same mask.
this, I was going through the Bionicle Historia, and there was a. Do you remember the McDonald's Legos? The like, McDonald's Bionicles?
I do. I got one of those little Happy Meals
Yeah,
way back when, and I
they
thought it
came
was the
with their own
coolest thing
comics
ever.
too.
Wait, did they really?
Yeah, and it was all about the mini guys.
Oh, wow. I must have lost that in, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
just have the set, but I always thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, wow,
yeah,
cool
so
guys.
Kopaka tries to murder this small child, and
Yes.
basically said after he tries to murder him, we have things to talk about.
Yeah. It's like you're gonna tell me why the heck I'm on this island.
He's like, "Why did I walk out of a capsule?" And he tells
Yeah.
him there's other masks. He's like, "Other masks? I have a mask. Why do I need other masks?"
Right. It's like, no, you dummy, you gotta buy the toys. You gotta buy all the masks.
And then they get attacked by something that I cannot recognize from the art on this.
You can't tell what it is, can you? It's crazy.
Is it the dragonfly thing?
It's supposed to be the dragonfly.
Okay, it looks really wild.
Yeah, because you don't see it head on this whole first issue. It's just
Yeah.
this weird shape. I don't even think they knew what it was.
And then we get the 2-page spread of all of the Bionicles and their mini like elders.
Yeah, you have to see all the heroes and the little chiefs of the villages.
I do like Toa Galley's mask because it's see through.
That was a cool feature about her mask was
Yeah,
that it had that kind of underwater aesthetic with the see-through
uh,
mask.
and unlike Transformers, our our nostalgia toys got to have a female character in its first wave.
I know, right? They
Yeah,
were they were representing with
it's super
her.
it's super fascinating that every single one of these has like there's a set of masks. The thing that everybody
Yeah,
needs to know about Bionicles, it's all about the masks. And every
until it isn't.
yeah, until it isn't, until it's about discs.
Yes.
Um, and the thing about that is every single like color scheme had the same set of masks in that color scheme, and that never made sense to me.
Right? Yeah. It was always just they just always looked off to me.
Yeah,
All the other ones besides the one that they originally came with. So I don't know. It was they were trying to sell toys, trying to sell
yeah. I mean, it's
mask
fair.
packs.
I bought a few of those, and so
Oh,
after
did
that,
you?
yeah, I remember getting some of those random gotcha bags of just random masks.
Interesting. Yeah, I never in all the years that I collected the Bionicles, I never bought any of those masks or disc packs. I missed out.
So after the 2-page spread of introducing you to all the Bionicles that you could buy in July, um,
Yeah.
he asked the small child, what was that thing that attacked us? And he says they call them the new Urama, which sounds like a delicious meal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would get that at my like ramen shop or something like that.
And that's the thing about these names that I was always curious about is like how much did they take from like Japanese anime culture, but also at the same time it feels very Native American the way the tribalism works.
Right, because if I am not mistaken, I think a few of the words were actually taken from Pacific Island um, language, like the Toa. I think that is hero in Pacific Islander. Um, so it always struck me like how they didn't get into trouble, like legal trouble, right, for
Yeah,
using
yeah.
words that weren't their own.
Yeah, honestly, that's something that would be interesting to be that people look at back on. It's like the kind of cultural appropriation of these Legos, but at the same time, like, was it bad because like they didn't give credit, or was it somewhat positive because it familiarized people with the idea of tribes like this and made? I
Hmm.
mean, that's the thing. Like, you can make light of something to the point where it's bad too. Like, we make light of some cultures, histories so much in our Western media that it becomes a joke when we go visit those places, which that's a no go.
Right.
So, like, it is curious. I wonder if someone would ever go back and kind of re-examine if like Bionicles were PC at all.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. So after they the small child is rescued, they meet an elder. Okay, so here's the thing about these books. They just keep going. Like they don't stop to tell you what's happening. They're like, let's just move on to the next plot point, figure it out.
Yeah, they do not give the reader a break really to like fully understand what they're doing, in my
And
opinion.
and the thing is like these books are 10 pages less than a normal comic book without ads. And this still has like double page spread ads in it.
Hmm. Okay.
So like you're only getting like 15 pages of actual comic.
Yeah. So, and man, are they ever jammed full of information?
Yeah, because so after he gets rescued, he meets one of the elders. The elder tells him, "Hey, watch me smash this rock." But by smashing this rock, he's explaining the history that basically we lived in peace, but then all of a sudden, Makuta, which is the big bad guy, which you don't see until the movie,
Right. Yeah. He's just this like
he's just
evil
this dirty mask.
kind of thing. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That was always how he was depicted, was like in a black version, like evil, like shadow version of like
Yeah,
the red
he always looked like an
Toa's
oil
mask.
spill.
Yeah.
And I love the footnotes. Instead of saying, "Hey, you can learn about this in this issue," it's like, "Oh, just go to the website."
Right. Yeah. I was surprised reading through this again, just how many link backs to the website they said they had the reader be aware of. They're just like, yeah, there's no way we could explain all this. Just go to the website and good luck.
Yeah, so okay, so basically the elder tells him what happened. Who's Makuta? Makuta's the big bad guy that's ruining our world. And,
Yeah.
and this is climb that mountain over there.
To find
So
your first mask to help
yeah,
get you started on your way. It's way up there. Go
yeah.
climb that.
So he climbs the mountain. Kabaka climbs the mountain, and then the mountain explodes with another Toa popping out of it.
Yeah. He's like, look out.
He's like, "You're the one that did this, didn't you?"
Yeah. I just love the exchange between yeah, Kopaka and then Pohatu is who we find this new character to be. And they're just Pohatu's all earnest, like, here, let me help you. I'm really sorry about that. But Kopaka, being the stereotypical ice character, is all cold and be like, no, I'm getting myself out of this mess that you put me in.
I also found
And
it super
then
fascinating that there's a Toa of Earth and a Toa of Stone, even though
right.
they're
Same
kind of
thing,
the same
right?
things. Yeah,
They just needed one, yeah.
it's like
Needed to make it even.
it's like there was a Toa of water and a Toa of wet.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
uh, uh, Potato Man, no, Pohatu, saves
The
Kopaka.
brown man.
Let's
Brown
not
potato
say
man.
that.
Brown potato man.
Um, Here's another thing, right? Again, we're talking about how weird Bionicles are.
Uh-huh.
Just in the way they present the lore in a lot of ways. He finds the mask of shielding, and it looks like another person's mask. He puts it on, and then it just morphs and absorbs into his mask.
Yeah, even then he's like, yeah, this mask is cool and all, but I really like my original mask, and I'm gonna stick with that because
Yeah,
it's just weird having somebody else's mask on.
and then they climb over the mountain. They're like, "Oh man, there's strangers over here. are they allies or enemies? And it's just the rest of the Toa.
Yeah, and it's like to be continued. And you're
And
like,
then
oh,
and then we go to
okay.
issue two, and so you would think as a kid, oh man, the next issue we're gonna see the rest of the Toa. And then issue two, you open it up, and it's a bunch of old farts talking about the world.
Yeah, the elders have come together and dump even more backstory on the reader. Like
And they basically say the six Toa are there to defeat oh, crap, what
Makuta.
is it? Makuta, thank you. Makuta and save Matanui. And I feel like the movie does this so much better.
Yeah,
The Mask of Light.
yeah. They by then they had everything kind of nailed down and could tell the Cliff Notes version of the story in like the first 3 minutes of the movie, and you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like it all makes sense. But second issue into the comics, you're just like, what is this world that they're building? Like these are Legos, but they're like, I don't know. It's like like
Yeah.
the MCU before the MCU.
Yeah, and then you to the next page. It does not continue where you left off. You have two new Toas that you're following. Nate, help me with their names.
Gali, you got your female Toa.
The water Toa.
Yeah, she's the cool blue Toa, and Liwa, the green one, who was just, like my second favorite, if we're
Lee
being
was cool because
honest.
Leo could fly.
Yeah, and he had the cool green hatchet, and I always liked his personality in this comic. Like you really got to see his kind of attitude and how he interacted with the other Toa, and I always just thought he was really funny and cool.
And with I've always thought with maybe I don't know if you played with him this way. With Leo's other hand with the two like rods on it, I always thought that was a gun.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, they back then it was like, yeah, this is a hand, but
It's like this is
but
gun. This is gun fam.
yeah, no, this
This
is
is double barrel
sticks.
shotgun.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah. I mean, that was the cool thing about Bionicles is that like really it was all what you got like you the builder got out of them. Like you could just totally collect all of them and build them however you wanted, make your own robots basically and action figures. And I feel like I did that way more than actually follow the story of Bionicle when I was playing with them. I was just like, yeah, no, these are like cool action figures that I'm just gonna make my own stories with.
Yeah. And then we get to the next page, and allow is basically saying to Gal, he's like, "Hey, water sucks, and you should love
Yeah,
trees."
yeah.
There's really
Water's just wet. That's all it is.
yeah, I like the line. Water can't be angry. It can't be anything but wet. Also in
Yeah.
the tree chops. But then Gali has such a great line at the bottom of this page, and it's like, "Your dreams are as grand as the trees, Leo, but I hope they do not come crashing down around you."
How deep were some of these like lines in this comic book for babies? Well, not babies, but like
Oh, I was definitely a baby.
these middle schoolers that are reading this book. It's just like, whoa, these like pearls of wisdom that these characters are tossing around to each other.
Yeah, and then the next page we see Gali just swimming around, just chilling with her hook hands. And all of a sudden, another thing that I cannot recognize what it's supposed to be comes out and attacks her.
Did you ever have or like know anybody who had like these like
The first wave
basically
of bad
these
guys.
these evil animals basically are what the
Yeah,
Toa are up against? I didn't know anybody who had these
I think I,
toys.
I think I knew some people who had the crab ones, but these are the most expensive ones.
Yeah, I mean, the Toa back then are like what, $7, I think,
Yeah, I think these
and
ones are all like 30 or 40 because
yeah, and
they were
for a
actually the
little,
mechanical ones.
right, the Technic, they definitely had the strongest elements of the Technic in them, and yeah, for a young child with no money, it was like, nope, gotta get the heroes that are only $7.
Yeah, and then the next page we see Gali just swinging through the woods like Spider-Man. Come across a crab, scorpion-like thing, and just murks the scorpion.
Yeah, he's just He's like, I love to stay in chat, but I can see you're just buried. And little
It
kid me
it
was like, oh snap.
just destroys this scorpion. And then he faces his greatest enemy, water.
Yes. And seaweed that
Yeah.
tries to drown him, but he
Uh,
prevails.
and then he finds his mask.
Finds the mask. We get another beautiful 2-page spread of the masks this time. All the different masks.
And it tells you can get your mask. It's 72 masks, Nate.
72 to collect. Buy them
Yeah.
all, kids.
And then you can get your mask poster at Toys R Us.
I saw that. I was like, man, if only I'd known, I would have been there to get my mask collecting poster.
Yeah, and then we get to see Gally get her mask on the mountainside and almost fall and die.
I
But then she gets rocket shoes because she can float now.
Yeah, so I guess that's what the mask that Liwa has is basically like lets you just descend slowly to the ground so you don't fall and splat.
Yeah, that's another bogus thing about a lot of this stuff is like they're just gating each other's powers, and so that doesn't make them very special. Except maybe I guess they can control their elements, but it also feels like
Yeah,
the elemental stuff doesn't come in until later editions.
it was always a weird thing because they had like the elemental powers, right? But then they had the mask powers, and
Yeah,
so it never seemed like they could fully decide of which superpowers they wanted to settle on, as far as like the writers um, going forward. So yeah, it's just kind of strange. Like one moment they'll use their elemental powers, but and then the next times they'll use their mask powers, and it was like, well, I always thought the mask powers were more cool.
and then so Mal gets attacked by two Scorpion Bros, and then we go back. Oh, sorry, Gally gets attacked by two Scorpion Bros, and then we go back to how do you pronounce his name again?
I always pronounced it Liwa.
All right, Lewa, that makes sense. So Lewa comes back out, it's like I'm gonna fly, and then gets attacked by I wanted to say mosquito, but that's not right. It's
A dragonfly
dragonfly,
looking thing.
and knocks the mask off the man.
Yeah, he gets like plastered against the front of that
And
dragonfly.
it's super fascinating that they won't show the face without the mask.
Yeah, you just see the side profile there, and
Yeah, and
it
even in the next
always,
page you see the back profile, but not the face.
yeah, it was always jarring building the Bionicles, and you take off their masks, and you're like, ooh, just this like skeleton-looking face behind the mask.
And then it says to be concluded in the third issue, and then there's another page of the deck building game.
Yeah, oh man, they tried to get you to collect everything: the masks, the toys, the cards, everything.
And then a bunch of stuff about going to the computer and downloading WebKits. And then another two-page spread showing the villains for the first time.
Yeah, going back to the contest, this one like struck me when I was rereading it. I was like, this contest is for building your own website. It's like how many kids knew how to code and make their own website? Like, granted, you could download a WebKit, it says, through Bionicle.com, but this just struck me as such an interesting contest to advertise to kids.
Yes, but you do get a 14 karat gold mask of power, which I'm super interested if anybody actually got that.
Yes, that's why I would love to have some sort of interview or contact with a past winner of something like this and just be
Yeah.
like, what was this like? Do you still have this thing?
You would also get an
And
upper
can I
deck.
hold it for a second?
You also get an upper deck Bionicle card game, Bionicle handheld game, Bionicle PC
Oh,
game, uh, and then a signed Bionicle DC comic art, and then the Lego Bionicle collection. Which,
a lot of stuff, a lot of
which I don't know
Bionicle
what
stuff.
is worth more, the Lego Bionicle collection or the 14 karat gold mask of power.
Yeah, I mean, how big of a mask are we talking? It's probably the same size as the little toy, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Did you have the PC game?
I did not. No, that was before I was really um, into computer games
I know the
at
GameCube
all.
one sucked, so but I don't know about the PC one.
Yeah. Are you talking about like the Mask of Light video game?
Yeah, I just remember it being real bad.
Yeah, it's not good. I downloaded it again on the computer. I was like, oof, this
Yeah, I know
not
the
great.
Paraka one, Bionicle Heroes. I
Mm,
enjoyed that game. That game's not good, but I enjoyed
that's,
it.
it's not good, but it was fun.
And
Sure.
but then you get to see the Rahi, which are the bad guys.
Yeah, these are all the sets that I definitely could not afford
I
as
can't
a young
remember.
child.
My brain says they came both in pairs. So if you bought the set, you got both.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, I didn't remember if I was correct about that or not.
Yeah, I just never, yeah, like I said, I don't know anybody. None of my friends had any of these sets. And I,
Let me see how much the Rahi retails for. Um, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that all the bad guys just had two colors.
right, yeah, you have the red and yellow like tigers looking things, the green and orange looking dragonflies, and then the pinkish purple and blue scorpions. They definitely liked their complementary colors.
Yeah, look,
But
I'm going on the Bionicle fandom, looking at the Rahi.
oh,
See
to
if
see what they're like, how much they cost like on eBay right now, or
or just
just
see
like
how
what
much they
they
cost
retailed
on.
for.
Yeah, what they retailed for. If it's
Oh, I
famous.
see. But yeah, then on the back of the this issue is where you see all the Happy Meal toys with the different little characters that you can get. And I see the one I had, the blue one with, and they had the little discs that they could throw, they could hold in their hand and you whip them
Shoot them
back
at
and
my
you throw
sisters.
'em. Yes, they were amazing. I man, those are- those are some cool Happy Meal toys. Looking back, I'm like, wow, got like full on Lego sets.
Yeah, that was the time where I feel like they my brain shut off. Where like the man, why can't I remember what my
Happy Meal toys?
yeah, Happy Meal toys used to be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm on brickeconomy.com.
Okay.
It tells you what that retails for, what its value is.
Hmm.
So the bull like ones,
Okay. Yeah.
they retailed for 69.99.
Back then?
Yeah, they're worth
Oh my gosh.
170 now.
Wow.
Um,
$70 back then. That's a lot.
yeah. Trying to see what the other ones are. The punching ones,
Uh-huh.
they retailed for 50 back then. They're worth 160 now. Crab and Goyle, the two scorpions,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
they retailed for 35.
Okay.
They're worth 160 now.
Wow, as much as like the
Yeah.
punchers.
The dragonflies cost $15, which makes you wonder why I never had those.
15. Okay, see that's doable for
Yeah,
a child.
and they're valued at 80.75 now.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's two more that I don't remember, which might have come later. Uh, the ma- the Makia. I'm trying to see what they look like.
You're thinking of like the remote control ones?
No, no, because that's those were the scorpions, right?
Um,
Maybe this is the remote
well,
control. I don't know. I know it cost um like $60. Anyways, what I'm curious what the original Toa cost though.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, they were. I mean, granted, they didn't come with a ton of pieces, but
Oh man, there's so many Toas I don't remember.
which
Like
ones did you have like growing up,
oh,
of the original ones?
I had Kopaka,
Hmm.
um, and I had the fire one, I believe.
Okay, Tahu.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So even like the newer ones, the re-released ones, are super expensive now.
Really?
Yeah.
it's just yeah, they're probably rare, so everyone
I'm
well,
trying to find.
people like me that want to collect them all again are like, oof, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the original. Oh, do you remember? Do you remember the special edition Guardian Toas? I had these.
The
They were
Guardian Toes.
they were the green one and the silver one, the green and gold one, and the red and silver one.
Oh yes, I have the
They
green
had
and
this.
gold one.
Yeah, I had the green and gold one too. They had the spinner discs.
Yes, those ones were really cool. I am sad that I never got the other one, the red and
17
silver one.
bucks. I could spend too much time on this website. Let's move on to issue 3. So, as you thought before, it would continue. But no, it opens up saying, oh, look at these bad guys that we haven't explained yet. Let's explain them real fast.
Yeah, it basically like each of the issues well, it features two different Toa on the
Yeah.
front. Well, except for the first issue that has all of them. But
Yeah, it has all of them.
basically each of the issues cover like features two of them prominently, so everyone gets their chance to shine.
And it actually does continue back up to what the last issue was with both Toas in danger. But then all of nowhere, Tahu shows up to save Gally. And
Yeah.
boy did we ship that so hard back as kids. Um,
Yeah, to have the leader and the strong female like guidance source of guidance be the ones
yeah.
that got together.
And then you had this Wild Vision quest that happens in the middle of the issue that doesn't come into play until like 10 issues later.
It does, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Again, just info dump on our poor little 9-year-old brains.
Saying like, hey, in the future we're all gonna fuse together and defeat the bad guy and you need to be there.
And then they fuse together.
And then Maui gets out of the vision. Tahu shows up saying, "Hey, we gotta get out of here."
Yep.
And
They
then
just like wake up.
they all meet up back together. So it feels like these issues take place after the first. I mean, like story wise, take place after the first one because Kopaku's right there chilling.
Right, yeah. They they've been doing their adventures, they've been collecting their masks,
And
and
they
now
just
they're like getting together and dealing with all this junk that Makuta's throwing at them.
and then we get double page spread of the manas that are the remote controller ones.
Okay, there they are. Yes. Those look man, looking at the remote controls, they have like
They're
little
so goofy looking.
claw like joystick thing. I don't know what those are.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what's
But
going on.
again, too expensive for my kid allowance.
Yeah, and then we see just a montage of the Toas just kicking butt.
Yeah, this whole sequence of events always got me hyped. When I was young, rereading this, just everyone uh, teaming up, like tossing each bad guys to each other and using their powers in tandem with each other just to take down all these basically innocent animals that were taken over.
And then Tahu gets grabbed by the dragonflies. And I just love the sequence of Tahu's dialogue. He goes, "Too bad I haven't found the mask of levitation yet because the ground is a long way down."
Too bad I haven't found this mask that costs $2.99 retail that you can pick up at your local Toys R Us store.
But then he gets saved by another Toa, and he's like, uh, I can catch you easily, Tahu. You should really seek out the mask of levitation. I know, I know. Like that's clever. That's really good.
Yes,
They
found
feel
at your local Walmart for $2.99. Buy it
honestly.
now,
I
kids.
think these are Toys R Us exclusives to begin with.
Yeah, I don't ever. I just was very young, and I just remember seeing them at whatever store. Like I was young, I didn't know what stores were, except Toys R Us. I didn't know that store very
Yeah,
well, but
and
every other
then,
store was just the store.
yeah, and we get to the end where they're like, "Oh, we got to find the rest of the mask and save the day," and that's the end of this 3-part issue.
And there you go. You're like,
Yeah,
it introduces all six of them, tells you all the stuff you need to buy
kind of.
to
Yeah,
have a good time.
Oh, my favorite part though is the end advertisement here, where it gives you 4 exclusive masks and it tells you where to find them. So you have to get the Great Mask of Time by buying the PC game. I've never seen that mask. I don't know what it looks like on a regular Bionicle.
Yes, I
Um,
am very curious about this one because in a later set, they actually came out with Mask of Time because it was featured in the second movie.
mm.
And so, but it looks slightly different than the one that's shown here. So I'm again, very curious to see like who has this and what does it look like. And
And then the gold masks came out with the new sets.
yeah, I see that coming in 2002. Look
And
for
then
the
the
gold colored masks in Bionicle sets.
infected masks come in certain packs. But my favorite part's the copper mask of Victor, where it says no one's quite sure where this one can be found.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
And then the back issue teases you with January 2002, the truth will hatch, and it's just this ball just rocketing out.
Yeah. It's you're like, what is this?
And that's the
Truthful
first
hatch.
3 issues of Bionicle, which covers the first arc of the Bionicle too.
Yeah. Um, so so what do we think?
What do you think? You're the one that brought this to me.
do we never do we need to never read these again and just
I
keep
mean,
them preserved in our nostalgic memory banks?
I'll probably share them with my kid if I ever have one. I feel like it's important to share these things on, but it's so fascinating that there is a care put to this book, but at the same time they are just selling toys, so they didn't spend a lot of time trying to make it kid friendly.
Right. Yeah. It's very much just here's these action hero figures basically that are Legos. So you just build them, but there's this whole big story that in order to follow the story, you need to buy all these sets and then you can follow the story basically.
Yeah, and like
But
it's fascinating too because we talked about it briefly, but like the next story just skips stuff.
yeah, yeah, like
It skips how they get the golden masks. It skips them going down below. It skips them doing a bunch of stuff.
yeah, it's really interesting just the because it was very much I feel it was made for kids right around our age at the time, so like 9 years old. But and you got to remember, like in 2001, the internet was still like as far as like widespread use of the internet, and everyone was on dial-up. Like the times were tough, and they have all these basically side stories and extra information to know what even is going on that's just locked behind this going
Yeah,
on this website as a 9 year old. Like I don't know, I was very tech illiterate as a kid, so I had no clue what was happening. I just my exposure to these toys and basically the story was these comic books.
yeah, and like even it's the same for me. And like I had nothing else, and at the time we didn't know each other, so I didn't have no friends that were into my uncles. I was just playing with them by myself. So I mean, it's super fascinating too, going back and exploring the lore because the lore is deep. It's just given into you in such a jagged way.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see like in the future story arcs if they kind of tone that down a little bit and because they did come out with like chapter books at like
And I read
young kid
those.
yeah, young kid chapter books that definitely you were able to just pack more stuff into those
Hmm.
and they'd be a lot easier to consume than just a comic book that's just full of lore and not a lot happening. So
Yeah,
um yeah, these first issues might be a little rough, like going back and rereading, just in terms of like not a lot happens during them. It's just kind of like, here's a bunch of lore, but also here's some cool little things where he jumps over a scorpion and crushes it with trees.
yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes again. Like so for the format of the show, we're gonna finish at least this first series of Bionicle comics. I do not know if we're gonna go into series 2 or 3 or whatever it ends in. I know it ends in like Ignition or whatever that was. Um,
Yeah, it I mean, yeah,
It goes
Comics went on
places.
for years.
I do feel like when we wrap up this run of comics, though, we have to do like a commentary on the Mask of Light or something.
Oh, like the movie?
Yeah, like just pop it in. You be over here. We
Oh
set up the
man, I would
mic
love
and we
that.
just talk over it.
Yes, I would love to do that
Um,
because that movie is something.
but after this, whenever we finish up the Bionicle stuff, I will say that we'll do more comics, and probably after the Bionicle stuff, because this was the initial idea, we'll do like polls, and then whatever you guys decide on are the ones we'll read and talk through. And I'll make sure both of us have copies of whatever books they are.
Yeah, and yeah, looking back at these first three issues and just what all is packed into these things, I also think of how influential these were to me in terms of being exposed to comic books because like granted I knew who like Spider-Man and like Captain America and Batman were because you know as a young kid you uh, those those toys and those movies are made for you so you know about those but I was never exposed really to comic books until these Bionicle comic books came um, in the Lego magazine so I definitely credit the Bionicle comics as kind of my intro to comic books as a whole. I remember in later years, you know, picking up actual Spider-Man comics and um, shoot, what else? Batman comics. Those were like my two favorites. But going back and rereading these, uh, these is going to be a fun trip down memory lane and
Yeah,
just the influence they had uh, on my consumption of comic books.
and they're definitely for me too one of the earliest books I collected just because I got them for free.
Right? Yeah.
Which definitely probably jump started the collection business that I go through now. Because even like the ones I'm reading right now, these aren't the original ones I owned because those got trashed. These are ones I found in a comic book store and picked up myself.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean, they do mean something to me, even if they are not great.
Right. They're not high. I can't say they're not high art because I mean the actual art I think is really something like the artist, the penciler, the inker, the
Mm-hmm.
colorist. I
It's
think
good art, honestly. Yeah, and they did a really good job.
yeah, they translated like the toy designs really well to like a comic book aesthetic. Like you'd see the toy elements, but yet they
They
made
have
them
like
kind of
they have like scratches and nicks and stuff inside like the toys themselves, so they look like actual things that walked around the world.
right. Yeah, like you definitely you know that they're like you can look to your side as you're reading the comic, look to your Toa sitting there and be like, oh yeah, that's that. But at the same time, they did a great job bringing these characters uh, to life in these comic book panels.
So the next arc we're talking about is it the Borak? Is that how you say it?
That's always how I said it. So yes,
Yeah, so
congratulations.
Borak. Thanks. Yeah, I remember it from my childhood. The Borak saga, which is issues 4 through. Let me try to do math. 4 through 10.
Wow. Okay, so it was that long.
Yeah, it's
Jeez.
6 issues. So we're gonna try to cover 6 issues in 2 weeks. Um, so yeah, that'll be fun. Nate, if you wanted to, what kind of social media would you like to promote?
um. Oh goodness. Well, I would say the social media to follow myself on would be at SuperNATO on Twitter. That's what I use the most, and kind of plug my own stuff on there the most. So that would be the place to find me.
And you can follow Comic Books Matter, the normal podcast, at Comic Books Pod on Twitter, Facebook.com/Comic Books Matter, the Patreon, which you will get the rest of these episodes on for $1. Remember, it's just $1. You don't have to donate if you don't want to, but if you can, it would be fun. And eventually, this might pay for me to stop working normal jobs. That would be Patreon.com/Comic Books Matter. And The logo is again provided by my friend Steven. Steven has nothing to promote, but Steven is a nice guy. If you see him in the street, say, "Hey, nice logo." Thanks, Steven. I don't know what the theme song for the show is going to be, but whatever it is, there will be credits in the description of the episode.
That's
So
awesome.
that's the first episode. Thank you for joining us for the inaugural the inaugural episode of Sorting Issues. Have a good rest of your weekend, everybody.
Take care, everyone.